Hello, warriors. We will continue our study of the different sentence types. We are going to watch a video that covers 3 of the 4 types of sentences, which include the simple, compound, and complex. And then we're going to read over a selected passage to demonstrate our understanding of how knowing these skills actually enhances your writing abilities. This is going to help you to be more successful with your upcoming SLO, where you not only have to identify the 4 types of the sentences, but you're actually going to have to synthesize them by showing your understanding with correcting sentence errors, which in essence reflects a higher level of thinking. These passages, just like the one that we're getting ready to read together, don't just focus on syntax or structure, but also selecting the right words to convey the anticipated meaning of the sentence. So in addition to knowing those basic skills, you're going to have to understand how the different word parts function together. So as you can see on your answer sheet, you have a section that is labeled Edpuzzle Score. And so this is where you're going to record your answers for the activity. And what I mean by activity are the questions from the selected passage. You're going to have some questions beforehand, but we're not going to worry about recording those. Those are just to get you to think. The ones that you're going to write down here are actually from the selected passage. You're going to have to record your answers in 2 different places, however. One is on the actual Edpuzzle. And while it is not going to give you a score from that aspect, that is the only way that you can continue using Edpuzzle since you're not logged on with the class account and you're only accessing the video through the link. What you're really going to focus on within that passage is writing down your answers here. You're going to see it has 1 through 10, so you're going to have 10 questions that you focus on. And you're going to put all of your numbers down. You're going to do a self-check with a teacher-provided key, and then you're going to write down the number correct out of the number you missed right here in this box. So let's say, for example, that you only missed 2, so you get 8 out of 10 correct. In this box, you'll put 8 over 10. So let's begin our study by first looking at a video that covers 3 of the 4 basic types of sentences.
Sentence types, a la Shmup. It would be pretty boring if sentences only came in a single flavor.
Aw, man.
Vanilla's fine, but who wants a world without chocolate? Or even green tea ice cream?
Yuck.
Hey, some people like it. There are 3 basic types of sentences. First, the simple sentence, aka the independent clause. You can also think of it as a complete thought. So long as it's got a subject and a verb, you're all set. The other 2 types use different helper words to connect clauses.
Did somebody say clause?
Compound sentences have 2 independent clauses connected with a helper word, such as and, nor, or so. And finally, complex sentences really live up to their name. They have an independent clause plus 1 or more dependent clauses, which can't stand alone as complete thoughts. So they're connected via a helper word, such as although, when, or which. Now let's translate all this into English. Here's the simplest of simple sentences. A simple sentence is solid. It stands on its own.
Oh, this? Ow! Don't even need it.
That's why it's also known as an independent clause. Like our friend over here, it stands on 2 legs, a subject, and a verb. Got that? But a simple sentence doesn't have to be quite so simple.
Hey you, get back here.
It can have a compound subject, that is, multiple subjects, like Mike and Bobby are caught by the police. Or a compound verb. Mike goes home and loses his art supplies. In a compound sentence, you've got 1 sentence, but 2 independent clauses, joined by a fanboys coordinator.
Alright, let him in.
And by fanboys, we mean for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. These fanboys are just dying to get between 2 independent clauses,
Back it up.
usually preceded by a comma. For example, Bobby failed miserably to impress Lisa, yet he kept trying to impress Megan too.
Aw, heck no.
And then there's the complex sentences. That is, an independent clause joined to 1 or more dependent clauses.
All right, that's it. Handcuffs? Seriously?
They're joined by either a subordinator, such as because, after, although, or when, or a relative pronoun, like that, who, or which. For example, Mike took down his shrine to Susie, which took over a month to make. And one with two dependent clauses. Here we go. Although Susie thought Mike was sort of cute, she preferred someone who didn't literally worship her.
Well, hello there.
So there are three sentence types: simple, compound, and complex. A simple sentence is an independent clause with at least one subject and verb. A compound sentence is two independent clauses joined together by fanboys. And a complex sentence is one independent clause plus one or more dependent clauses joined by a subordinate or relative pronoun.
Again? Really?
Just remember that there's always got to be at least one independent clause in each sentence because somebody's got to stay independent here.
All right. So, with just the video reviews, you're going to see that there was one particular type of sentence that was left out that you're going to need to know for your SLO as well as for SC Ready, and that is your compound complex sentence. And it's basically just a blending of both the compound sentence, which has two or more independent clauses, blending with a complex sentence, which has at least one, typically one or more dependent clauses that accompanies an independent clause. So when those two mesh together, that's how you get your compound complex sentence. Now, we're going to take a look at a reading passage that's very similar to one that you're going to see with your SLO. And with any selected passage that you read, there are different ways of approaching it. I know that we have practiced a three-step method where the first time you focus on key words or phrases, you pick out what you think may be important, and then you pick out what you may have questions about. On your second reading, you kind of go into attack the text in that you pick out what's important, you make connections, you figure out why things are important, you try to answer your own questions. You form opinions on the text, like you just really interact with the text. You know, you develop that connection with the text. And then the third time, of course, that you read it is just to sweep up anything that you may have missed. So what we're going to do with this particular passage, when it comes to grammar, you really don't have to go in and read it those 3 times. If what you're focusing on for the sake of that reading passage is simply to correct sentences, you really need to read through it once to get a good idea of how the passage should sound. Even if you're just reading it inside of your head, you're still hearing it in your brain. But you need to go through it once before you just really go into trying to answer those questions, because it's going to make more sense for you to do that. So what we're going to do is just read it through once, and then we're going to go back to answer the questions. So here we go with Jackie Robinson playing for the Majors. Robinson's debut at first base with the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 15, 1947, in which he batted 0 for 3, was one of the most closely watched events in baseball history and a profound moment in the history of the U.S. Civil Rights Movement. Although he played his entire rookie year at first base, Robinson spent most of his career as a second baseman. Since he was so athletic, Jackie also played many games at third base and in the outfield. During that first season, Robinson suffered considerable abuse. He generally conducted himself very well, though his composure cracked from time to time. For example, he punched an umpire in the face after the ump used a racial slur. Many Dodgers were highly resistant and hostile to his presence. A group of Dodger players insinuated they would rather strike than play alongside a black man such as Robinson, but the mutiny was ended when Dodger management informed the players that they were welcome to find employment elsewhere. He did have the support of Kentucky-born shortstop Pee Wee Reese, who proved to be his closest comrade on the team. During one game, Cincinnati players were screaming at Jackie, and they started to get on Reese as well. Pee Wee went over to Jackie and put his arm around him and smiled. Jackie smiled back. The pair became a very effective defensive combination as a result. Throughout the season, Robinson experienced considerable harassment from both players and fans. Pitchers threw at his head. Base runners tried to cut him with their cleats. He was verbally assaulted by both his own teammates and opposing teams. The Philadelphia Phillies were particularly abusive. In their April 22nd game against the Dodgers, they jeered at and insulted him ceaselessly. Rickey would later recall that this did more than anything to unite the Dodgers. It solidified and united 30 men. In Robinson's rookie season, he earned the major league minimum salary of $5,000, which was standard for many rookies at the time. He played in 151 games, hit .297, and was the league leader in stolen bases with 29. Robinson was awarded Rookie of the Year Award in 1947 and the Most Valuable Player Award for the National League in 1949. He not only contributed to Brooklyn pennants in both years, but his determination and hustle kept the Dodgers in pennant races in 1950 and 1951, when they might otherwise have been eliminated much sooner. In 1955, though clearly in the decline of his career, Robinson would play a significant role in leading the Dodgers to their first and only World Series championship in Brooklyn in a 7-game victory over the New York Yankees. Robinson's major league career was fairly short. He did not enter the majors until he was 28, and he was often injured as he aged. In his prime, he was greatly respected both for his playing skills and as a person. After the 1956 season, Robinson was sold by the Dodgers to the New York Giants. Rather than report to the Giants, however, Robinson chose to retire at age 37. So let's go back up to the questions. The first one regards sentence number 1. Sentence number 2. Sentence number 3. Number 4. Number 5. It's a good idea to look at the entire sentence. Number 6. Number 7. Number 8. Number 9. And number 10. Remember to do your self-check by going over to grade how many that you got correct out of 10, and then put the number correct over 10 inside the box. Hope you guys did great.